Hallo, wer bist du, was machst du?
Hallo, ich bin Matthew Stinchcomb, ich komme aus den USA und ich arbeite für Etsy.com.
Okay, maybe we switch to English, although your German is just excellent.
Dankeschön. Natürlich.
What exactly is Etsy doing for all the guys out there who do not know it yet?
Etsy is a marketplace for buying and selling handmade and vintage goods directly from the people who bring them about. We started 5 years ago in Brooklyn, New York, and now we're expanding around the world.
Okay, and you are the one who is in charge of expanding this great concept.
Into Europe, ideally.
What does Etsy look like in Europe?
Right now we have a small team in Berlin and a couple people in Paris and a couple people in London. And we're doing a lot of work to localize the site. We just started supporting 21 different currencies. We'll soon be supporting multiple languages and allowing people to filter search results by location, that kind of thing.
What is the greatest challenge you witness here? I mean, if you compare the US to Europe and all the differences.
I think that one of the things that we're really careful about is making sure that we kind of understand the culture behind each country in Europe. And, Americans tend to be really gregarious and like, hey, I'm American, this is so awesome. And I remember when I first came here and I was meeting with a group of artists in Finland, and I was like, hey, this is so cool, I'm really excited about what we're doing. And they all kind of looked like, I just murdered somebody. So I think it's, taking the time to make sure that we really develop something that's relevant to people here and not just, hey, this worked in America, so we'll make it work here. So really just taking the time and having the patience to build something with people, not just for them.
What did you build up so far? I mean, how does Etsy perform in Europe?
Well, Etsy does kind of naturally has always done pretty well outside of the United States. I mean, we're still predominantly in the U.S., but 30% of our business involves at least one party outside of the U.S., and that was when everything is in English and everything is in dollars. So, people who weren't so comfortable with English or, transacted in euros would have to really work to have a relationship with Etsy. So that's all beginning to change. We have sellers, I think, or artists in 150 countries or something like that. Obviously, our biggest non-US markets are English-speaking markets like the UK and Canada and Australia, things like that. It's growing actually pretty quickly. So we hope that when we can more fully support the market here and have customer support that speaks German or French or whatever it may be, that we can see that growth go even more quickly.
I think it's like 200 meters down the road where DaWanda sits. DaWanda, yeah.
No, just kidding.
Does it frustrate you that Germans tend to do all these copycats?
No, not at all. I mean, I think that, I met Michael from DaWanda. He's a really nice guy. I always think of it this way. It's like the more people that encourage consumers to buy handmade goods directly from the people who are making them and, to value these kinds of things, the better it is for all of us. It's kind of like the Dairy Association in America encourages people to drink milk, and wherever you buy your milk, it's, you're going to buy it from the place that's most convenient or closest to you or whatever it may be. So, I don't ever really focus on like what they're doing and be mad about like how can they do the same thing that we're doing. It's more like let's just build the best thing we can build for our customers here and let them be where they want to be.
Can you imagine buying them?
Can I imagine buying DaWanda? I mean, that's really more a question for our board, I guess. But I think right now we're just focusing on building Etsy in a way that I don't know, is relevant globally. What that means in the future, I don't really know.
By the way, interestingly, you told me you did music before Etsy. Is this true? Like, what is your personal background so far?
Yeah, that's true. Excuse me. I was a full-time, indie rock musician for about 6 years before Etsy. And actually, weirdly enough, that's kind of how it all came about, or at least my connection to it is I started making t-shirts for our band and got really into printmaking and screen printing, started doing it for other bands, and then Rob, who's the founder of Etsy, opened a screen printing shop together in Brooklyn, and we just started getting hooked into the maker community and started, everybody we knew was making things, and Rob's like, hey, there's a lot of people who are making stuff. Like, there's no good marketplaces for people who are making stuff, and then Etsy was born.
That's a cool history in a way. By the way, what kind of investors do you have with Etsy?
We have some great investors. Excuse me. We have we're venture backed. The biggest investor in Etsy is Excel. And then we've got Union Square Ventures in New York, and now most recently Index in London. So we have a really strong board. It's Katarina Fake, who founded Flickr. It's Jim Breyer, who sits on Facebook's board and on I think Walmart and a few other places. And Fred Wilson from Union Square, and then Rob, who's the founder of the company. And what's really cool is that we have investors who are really focused on the kind of big picture and the long-term vision for Etsy. And we're not interested in just, exiting and making as much money as we can. We really want to build a company that's going to be around for a long time. And luckily we have a board and we have investors who share that vision.
Does it raise the stress level taking on a VC?
Not for me. I don't know. I think that, like I said, Rob was really careful about who he let invest in the company. And, we don't have stressful investors. We have really supportive investors. And so I actually don't feel anything but kind of support from the people on the board and our investors. How
much did they invest in whole, by the way?
I think the total raise is around $50 million.
$50 million?
Yeah, it's quite a lot of money.
That's a lot of creativity in there.
Yeah, that's right. It's a lot of handmade goods.
Okay, cool, man. Then with $50 million, a great team, a great board, and a former indie rocker, what is your goal for next year?
My goal for next year? Good question. I think to really fully support markets outside of the United States with language, customer support, currency, localization.
That's straight and sounds good. Cool. Then thanks a lot and good luck, of course.
Thank you very much. Vielen Dank. Tschüss.